There he is.
Hey, what's going on? Sorry about that.
Nah, no problem, man. Appreciate the time and won't keep you for too long. But man, got to talk about this killer album and the tour and everything. But dude, let's start with the album. I'm uh I'm old enough and been around long enough to remember the first Lorna Shore album and the second and playing, Denounce the Light and Funeral Moon and all those old tunes. But even you would agree, since Will joining the band, it does kind of feel like a rebirth, even though this is technically your fifth album. I think for the general public, it kind of feels like your second album. Did you guys look at it that way, or was it just kind of like, hey, here's the next batch of songs up, let's just rip through them?
I mean, I would agree. I just having Will here, we don't write the same way. We do a lot of things differently and a lot more trust, a lot more chemistry nowadays. So yeah, it is our fifth record. I think that only comes with just experience. So we have a lot more experience in the studio and experience writing songs and knowing when something is, really resonating and feeling good. So I can be thankful for all that experience, obviously. But as far as with Will, yeah, like we do things a lot differently now and a lot more together. And um, yeah, I mean, I know the era of Will is, like you said, a sort of rebirth. So we know what he's capable of, and what he's capable of is far beyond, I think, what we've been able to accomplish with other people. Much more open minded, much more excited about doing things that are a bit pushing the envelope and outside the norm. So yeah, with Will, I think there's just a level of comfortability that if there's something that we feel that's great that it doesn't really land in the deathcore sort of box, that we can kind of explore that as far as what his talents lend itself to. So it's much more freeing, I will say.
Yeah, I mean, you guys definitely aren't confined to that deathcore box on this album, exploring all kind of different sounds and textures, and certainly you've had like the orchestral and symphonic parts in there before, but I almost feel like a little bit even more electronics coming in, maybe a little bit industrial kind of vibe, and kind of leaning into that more than on Pain Remains.
Yeah, exploring different sounds, soundscapes, approaches to just world building is a big word that everyone uses. What world are we building for this song? And yeah, again, it's like I think on this record we felt a lot of freedom and we were able to just go to all different places and a lot of I think to an average person's ears you could say it's all fast and it's all noise and everything sounds the same, but I think if you are an avid listener of the genre and if you've been here a while, you can differentiate kind of what we're trying to go for, whether it's some power metal influence, some mellow death influence, some melancholic, darkened black metal sort of vibe, or just straight deathcore, or just some slam. There's many nuances within metal that we all love, and I think that's what makes us us. Because I mean, me personally, I like the heaviest of the heaviest over the top craziness, that spectrum. And then I like, very beautiful and very like storytelling and like vulnerable music. So I'm very proud of what we were able to accomplish with this one because for me, it kind of scratches all the itches that I always feel within myself. And not every band needs to be everything, and I always kind of harped on that where it's like, there are bands that do one thing really well, and that's amazing. And I'm very happy to have that band around, like a
Right,
Breaking Benjamin. They write a good song and they always write a good song, and I'm stoked.
right.
And then you got like a Deaf Heaven or something. They'll hit you with some black metal, they'll hit you with some post, and then some, and it's all good. I think they're, I don't want to be the one band, one stop shop for everyone, but I think just exploring what we all love and our influences is just worth a shot. And I'm proud of what we were able to accomplish on this one.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of getting at with it being, kind of your second album in a way. It feels very inviting on this album. You're kind of opening up the sounds. It's amazing how light and dark the album sounds with all that orchestration and everything mixed in there. And even like I touched on before with the industrial vibes, even the very beginning of the album with Prison of Flesh, it sounds like you're banging on something other than a drum at the beginning of that one.
Yeah. Yeah, that I mean that's when you're how do I say it? out in the open like that, exposed, naked. You're just hitting a drum over something. Uh, you really got to make it sound cool. So where I'm like, hey, if this is the only thing playing right now, turn it up. You know what I mean? Like let's overdub it. Let's add whatever we got on to make this pummel through the speakers when people are listening to it. And I guess industrial kind of, now that you mentioned it, does have that where like, hey, it's a drum, but it's got this like heavy, chink to it. I mean, I grew up loving bands like Ministry and the Chemical Brothers and Godflesh. I grew up on a lot of that music, through my dad. So yeah, I'm not mad about it. I do love me some industrial. I think there's a place for it. I think modern music now, I don't think even recognizes that those guys were pioneers. They didn't have the tools we had, and they still were able to accomplish those sounds really
Yeah.
well and really. That's just out of someone's fucked up brain. So yeah, industrial is like a really cool genre that I don't think people nod themselves to, and people should probably go back and check it out because they were doing this stuff with you know weird keyboards and
Right.
plugged into a wire full of shit to get this fucking disgusting sound. So yeah, I do appreciate the industrial nod, and it's fun. I mean, that stuff is cool. It's very like EDM. I think falls in line with a lot of those industrial elements, and we love that stuff. So yeah.
Dude, I'm gonna go on a little bit of a limb. I played drums as a kid a little bit, so I'm always paying attention to the drummer. And without a doubt, I think my favorite tune on the album is War Machine. And that one
Hell yeah.
seems like a whole hell of a lot of fun for you to play. Imagine that's one of your favorites, and certainly the drums on that one. And
I
that
mean,
industrial thing in
yeah.
there too.
Yeah, I mean that song is definitely a nod to like, a lot of the people that shaped metal and myself and, you know, channeling different sort of drummings just because of the tempo and the style of the riffs. It was a lot of fun because it was more in line with like a childhood sort of love for, just headbanger music, just, no frills, no gimmick, no anything, just a good metal song. Um, and again, you try things, and I think that one was just a fun experiment that worked out. Honestly, it was an experiment. Like it was written for fun. It was a lot of fun. We just had it around for a while. We didn't know what we were gonna do with it. It was kind of like a song that was like, cool. Wrote a song, put it in the back pocket, and then as we approached having the record, like I think this actually has a place on the record. That's just like a genuine, ode to our metal gods that we grew up loving. And in no way we were trying to like bite anyone, but like it's our take on it. It's our take
Yeah.
on it. I would say it's. I wanted to make it a little more extreme. Add a little more, fast drums and this, but like I feel like the skeleton of it is very just rock and roll.
Yeah.
So I do. I think that one. I'm glad you appreciate it because I mean, we always said I want this song to be you're in the back row with a beer at the festival and you're banging your head. You don't know what to. You don't even know what band's playing. It's just you're just like, yeah, this rocks.
Just feeling
So yeah.
Yeah, kind of the other spectrum of that, and I'm kind of curious to get the history on a little bit of Glenwood. I mean, it's such an important song, such a personal song, and a great video to kind of tie it all together. Was that one kind of earmarked from the get-go?
Yeah, I mean that was a later song that was written. It was probably if I had to give like a time frame, I mean if it took a year, to kind of get together a lot of the ideas from start to finish for the record, that was probably on like the last 2 months, that
Oh,
that song
wow.
kind of came together. Like it was a very late one. I'm really happy that that kind of emotion and all those things were brought at that moment because we were kind of just writing from a place of how we're feeling at that moment. And towards the end of the record, when you're filled with self doubt and you don't know what you got, sometimes you get a good song out of it. So, and then Will still had this, huge urge to speak on certain subjects and things like that. So when that song came across my plate, from Adam with the riffs and the leads, we played around with some structures and we're like, this should just be a like, let's not overcomplicate it. This is I was like, I could listen to this part over and over again when I was writing it. I kept saying that. So I was like, maybe this is the part that's just needs to be played. Like, let's not overcomplicate. We're not throwing any breakdowns in.
Right.
Let's see what Will comes up with. And he kind of just swung and hit through the fences on the first try, and I was like, oh wow! Like, and I personally learned a lot about Will through that song, and even
Yeah.
being so close to him. So I was like reading the lyrics, talking to him about it, and it's like had no idea. You know what I mean? Like, we've been in a band with Will for a while, but like, we don't always sit down and have those talks.
Right.
So the fact that I, being a person that might be one of the closest in proximity to him in the world, not knowing these things, for him to show the world that, um, it was very vulnerable of him, it was very courageous, and I commended him for it. So, and like you said, it was a very, I knew it was going to be an important song. It wasn't even a part of the singles when we were putting it together because we were
Huh.
kind of strategically trying to find a way to, we just didn't know if it was too far the other side,
Right.
how it would be accepted by the community. But obviously, once you hit them with all this pummeling, Oblivion and Unbreakable and Prison of Flesh, give them a warm hug at the end.
Yeah.
It worked out. So it just, I think it all came together beautifully, and I think timing is so important. So if you just put that song out first, it's like, oh, the band sold out, and it wouldn't get the attention that it deserved. So
Right.
after hitting them with all this extremities and say insanity, to show a real face at the end of it, I think was just a not even a conscious thing. I just now I'm seeing that result. I'm like, oh, I'm really glad we did that.
Yeah, I mean, really, really cool of Will to share that about himself and to be himself rather than some character or some sort of, carnage. It was like, no, here's real life because we all live in that reality. You know?
100%, yeah, and Will really resonates with that. He always speaks upon. I want to speak about my experiences. I'm not really too much of a. He's not really like a fantasy world builder. He did that with Pain Remains, a great job. But
Right.
I think his deep down creativity comes from his experiences, and I think that it came full circle and yeah, just blew up. Like beyond what I could even imagine that song like for him. Like when it all just came about, I'm like, wow, this is a loaded, packed song of a story that's incredible.
Just out of curiosity, man, I told you mine. Do you have a favorite on the album? Is there one that you particularly love?
Man, I mean, if I had to stick outside the singles, because obviously we picked those are some of the favorites. Death Can Take Me was a lot of fun. It was the last song we wrote on the record, and I think that at that point it was like, let's just, kitchen sink, pull out all the guns. Like we're at the end of the war. Let's just load them up.
All
So
the
that song was a
artillery.
lot of fun. Yeah, that song was a lot of fun to write, put together, and just have fun with at the end of it. Just being like, man, we need one more song. We're done. Like, let's just do what we do, and just have a lot of fun. So I Death Can Take Me's got some of my favorite drum parts. Some of my favorite little things that we tried in that one because it was the last one. It's like, hey, we haven't done this. Let's try this, and then again, learning. Oh, that worked out great. Let's adopt that, earlier on in the writing process. It was kind of a simpler song to write at the end of it because we're like knew what to do. Um, but yeah, I love that song and In Darkness is one of my favorites. I just think that was one that I always put on when we came home. If I had to show someone a song, I was always going, Glenwood I wanted to keep in the pocket. I didn't want to let, hey, what you guys been working on? Just put that song on. It's like,
Right.
oh yeah, sounds so different. Good for you guys. It's like this In Darkness, I was like, this is what we've always done, what we do, just in a very good way.
Meat and
So
potatoes.
exactly. And I love that song.
Well, dude, turn into the tour a little bit. So excited. You're going to be in our market at Riverside Municipal Auditorium on October the 12th. And hell of a lineup, which we'll get to in a second here. But I'm kind of curious, how many of these new songs are you working into the set now? Because you have such an extensive catalog, songs you have to play.
Yes. I mean, part of it is, giving the singles their debut, giving all the singles their debut. Yeah, we're pushing this record. Um, but we have new production, we have a new face to like a lot of the older songs, so kind of giving them, because we do love those songs. To be able to play, Pain Remains with this big of a production is something, yeah, we got to go give it a go. And we want to extend the life of this record. We're not looking to rush through things. So, we will add a lot more songs as the tours go on. But to be fair, we've been really busy. So learning four new Lorna Shore songs is not an easy task.
Right.
So we got the singles that we're rolling out with, and bringing back some old favorites, and just wrapping it all up in a fun day. So played around with the order of things for sure. and wiped away a few, cut some fat, So I think right now we got our greatest hits coming out on the road.
Awesome, man. Looking forward to it. And like I said, hell of a lineup you put together with Black Dahlia Murder, Shadow of Intent, and Peeling Flesh. And dude, I know you've been around a long time. Do you have a story with Trevor, the late great Trevor Sternad of the Black Dahlia Murder? Did you meet him, hang with him
Oh,
back in the day? You
oh
got a
yeah.
story or three?
Yeah, I mean, I actually got the notification, I believe, the day before we started the tour that I think it was 9 years ago that day we were driving out to start a 3 day small routing run with Black Dahlia, and it was just us and Black Dahlia. And I remember at
Wow.
that time that was like the most insane thing for this band, and we had so much fun. There's actually like on our YouTube channel, if you go to like the first two videos, it's like an all GoPro, me just walking around with a GoPro shot, like studio doc of us hanging out on that tour for the 3 days we were there. I mean, that was like the most important 3 days 9 years ago. Um, and then you fast forward a couple of years later, we did a Summer Slaughter with them. They played Nocturnal in full. That's obviously an album that shaped us. Um, got to see that band. I remember there was a moment in Chicago where uh, we actually took acid, and then we watched them play. I walked out into the middle of the crowd and watched them play Nocturnal. And I was like, this is the greatest moment of my entire life. Like, Trevor was such a good person. He was always rooting for us, always pushing for us. Um, and then I remember years later, I hadn't seen Trevor for a long time, and I went to go see a show in Brooklyn. It was Belphegor and Dark Funeral, some of my favorite bands. And Trevor was there, and he just grabbed me. He's like, "Dude, oh my god!" And then we were just hanging out. And then I saw him. He just came up behind me. We were like air blast beating. We had a beer. We were hanging out, and he just looked at me. He's like, "This is what it's all about." I was like, "100%, man. This is the best shit in the world." And then a few months later, obviously, he passed, and that hit the band really hard. I ran into him because he lived in Brooklyn for a little bit at places a lot, and
Right.
he was the type of guy, sort of like a Mac Miller. Like, people when Mac Miller passed away, like I feel like I lost a friend because you
Yeah.
knew that person so well because they put themselves out there so much. And Trevor, even though we had limited time spent together through the documentaries, through watching Majesty, the DVD, 60 times, you felt like you knew the guy. And
Yeah.
so I think that one just hits hard for everyone. So to have Black Dahlia out on this tour with Brian on vocals, Wes Howe filling in on guitar, like another great friend of the band. Yeah, like it's just, we wouldn't be the band we are without Black Dahlia. So and I know they've been through probably the worst thing you could ever go through as a band. So
Yeah.
they deserve to be out here 100%. There's no like doubting or judging or anything like that. Band deserves, and our fans, to be fair, deserve to see a band like that really is the blueprint for all of this shit. So whether they like it or not, you better stick around, watch Black Dahlia. Don't go outside because that's a clinic, man. Those guys haven't skipped a fucking beat. They're amazing.
Yeah. I really miss Trevor's laugh. He had just such a maniacal, fun laugh
Oh
and just
yeah.
life of the party all the time.
Oh, nonstop.
I was thinking about all the different accents backstage, right? Like you guys from New York, New Jersey area, Dahlia from Detroit, Shadow of Intent from Hartford upstate, and then Peeling Flesh from OKC. So you got all these different accents you're gonna be running around backstage.
Oh yeah, we be riffing. It's a good time. Everyone's trying to one up each other, do each other's accent. The Oklahoma boys doing the Jersey, New York is probably my favorite, but we got a little taste of that early on. We're probably by the end of the tour, we'll all be one.
Yeah, to be some
It's
crazy amalgamation of them all.
exactly.
All the accents combined. Dude, I appreciate all the time. Last thing I wanted to hit you with, man. We are an old school radio station. We do a feature called Mandatory Metallica every night at
Yeah.
10 p.m. And I imagine you grew up on those records. So help me out with this little debate I've been having, man. Me and my buddy debating their greatest thrash metal album and coming down on different sides. Album two versus album three. Ride the Lightning versus Master of Puppets. If you had to pick one out of those two, which one would it be?
Right. Ride the lightning for me, boss.
Right. Didn't even think about it. Okay.
Yeah. I'm not I Master Puppets, listen. But Ride the Lightning's just got a certain grit to it. I don't know.
Is it
That's the
that
one.
grit dirtiness? Like you can feel like the guys are sweating it out in the garage?
That's the one. And to be fair, as a kid, that album artwork, when you're a kid, you see something like that, you want to listen to it. It doesn't matter what it sounds like. So I probably listen to that record a lot more than most records, even probably the Black Album, just because it had a fucking dope cover. So
Master cover was pretty cool though too, with the grave, with the tombstones and all that, with the
I
crosses.
didn't understand. I didn't understand that though. Now I'm like, that's hard. But back in the day, Blue Lightning, yeah, come on, we're there.
I don't know. I fall on the Master side just because there's a couple tunes on that album like Escape and Trapped Under Ice that
Yeah, yeah.
where Master I don't feel like there's any soft ones in there. I think feel like they're all bangers.
Hey, greatest band to ever live.
Seriously.
Man, it's mandatory Metallica every night at 10 p.m. I'm with it. I got to tune in.
Well, to put a button on it, let's play a song for you on Mandatory Metallica. What's your favorite Metallica tune? What can we play for you?
Oh my goodness. I hit him with battery. Let's have some fun.
See,
Hit him with battery.
now you're picking one off a Master. See?
Yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have to eat my words.
Beautiful, man. Thank you so much for the time. Blast to get to talk to you. Amazing album, and I cannot wait to hear and see all these tunes live at Riverside Municipal.
Listen, come say hey, man. I'll be chilling.
I will do, man. Thank you, Austin. Safe travels.